Please, Adrian, don't do this!
I don't have a choice, Sarah. They will kill me if I don't pay. They said you are worth exactly what I owe.
Adrian, please save me! Adrian, don't leave me!
I never thought love could have a price tag. But that night, I learned that to the man I trusted most, my life was just a line on a ledger. Please, Adrian, don't do this. I begged. My voice shook. The cold rain hammered against the windows of the dark warehouse. Adrian wouldn't look me in the eye. He stared at the floor, his hands trembling. I don't have a choice, Sarah, he whispered. They will kill me if I don't pay. They said you are worth exactly what I owe. Before I could scream, two large men in dark suits stepped out of the shadows. They grabbed my arms. I fought, I kicked, and I cried out for Adrian to save me. Instead, he took a thick envelope of cash from a third man, turned his back, and walked away into the night. He didn't look back once. I was dragged into the back of a black luxury car. My heart pounded against my ribs like a trapped bird. I was terrified. Who were these people? Where were they taking me? I had no answers. I only knew that the man I loved had sold me to cover his gambling debts. My world was completely shattered. Before we reveal the dangerous man who bought my freedom, please take a brief moment to subscribe to our channel. Turning on notifications helps us bring you more emotional stories every single day. Also, we love knowing who is listening to us. Please leave a comment below telling us where you are watching this video from. We read every single comment. Now, let's find out what happened next on that dark, rainy night. The car drove through the city for what felt like hours. Nobody spoke. The silence in the vehicle was heavy and suffocating. I pressed my forehead against the cold glass of the window. The bright city lights blurred through my tears. I felt completely hollow. I had no money, no phone, and no one coming to save me. Finally, the car slowed down. We passed through massive iron gates and pulled up to a grand estate. It looked like a palace, but to me, it felt like a beautiful prison. The guards opened the car door and guided me inside. The house was breathtaking. The floors were polished marble. Beautiful, expensive paintings hung on the walls, but the atmosphere was freezing cold. Men in sharp black suits stood at every corner. They stood perfectly still, like statues, with their hands crossed in front of them. They all looked dangerous. I was led into a massive library. The walls were lined with thousands of old books. In the center of the room sat a large mahogany desk. A high-backed leather chair was turned away from me, facing the crackling fireplace. "Sir, she is here," one of the guards said in a respectful, quiet voice. The chair slowly rotated. Sitting in the chair was a young man. He did not look like a common criminal. He looked like royalty. He had sharp, handsome features, dark hair swept back perfectly, and eyes that looked like they could see right through your soul. He wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. This was Leo. He was the undisputed leader of the city's most powerful underground organization. He was a Korean Mafia king, a man feared by everyone. Leo looked at me. His expression did not change. He didn't smile, and he didn't look angry. He just studied me quietly for a long moment. The silence in the room was deafening. I tried to stand tall, but my knees were shaking violently. "So," Leo finally spoke. His voice was deep, smooth, and calm. It sent a shiver down my spine. "You are the prize Adrian offered to clear his debt." "I am not a prize," I said. My voice cracked, but I forced the words out. "I am a human being. You can't buy a person." A tiny hint of amusement flashed in Leo's dark eyes, gone as quickly as it appeared. He stood up. He walked slowly around the desk until he was standing just a few feet away from me. He was tall, and his presence completely filled the room. "In my world, everything has a price," Leo said softly. "Your boyfriend owed me $5 million. He offered you as payment. He said you were beautiful, loyal, and had no family to come looking for you. He signed the contract gladly." Hearing the exact amount made me sick to my stomach. $5 million. That was the price of my love, my trust, and my freedom. I closed my eyes as a fresh tear spilled down my cheek. I felt so small, so discarded. Leo reached out. His long, Elegant fingers gently caught the tear before it could fall from my chin. His touch was surprising. It was not rough or violent. It was incredibly gentle. I flinched slightly, but he didn't hurt me. He just looked at his wet fingertip, then looked back into my eyes. "Take her to the East Wing." Leo ordered his men, never breaking eye contact with me. "Give her clean clothes. Prepare a hot meal. She will stay there until I decide what to do with her." The room they gave me was larger than my entire old apartment. It had a massive bed with soft silk sheets, a private bathroom, and a balcony overlooking a beautiful garden. But no matter how luxurious it was still a cage. A guard stood outside my door 24 hours a day. For the first 3 days, I barely left the bed. I couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Adrian's face. I remembered the promises he made to me. He used to tell me he would protect me forever. It was all a lie. He had used me from the very beginning. On the 4th night, there was a soft knock on my door. A young maid entered, carrying a silver tray with a bowl of warm soup, fresh bread, and tea. "Please eat something, miss," the maid said kindly. Her name was Minna. She was one of the few people who didn't look at me like I was a ghost. "The boss will be very upset if you get sick." "Why does he care?" I asked, staring blankly at the wall. "He bought me like a piece of furniture. Why does it matter if a piece of furniture gets dusty?" Minna looked around nervously, ensuring no guards were listening. She lowered her voice. "Master Leo is not what people think. Yes, he is dangerous to his enemies. He has to be. But he is not a cruel man. He has been asking about you every day. He wants to know if you are eating. He wants to know if you are sleeping. Please, just try the soup." To make Minna feel better, I took a small sip. It was delicious and warm, soothing my aching chest. An hour later, the bedroom door opened again. This time it wasn't Minna. It was Leo. He had rolled up the sleeves of his white shirt, and his tie was loosened. He looked tired, like he had been working for hours. He looked at the tray on the nightstand and noticed the bowl was half empty. A small, subtle nod of satisfaction passed over his face. "You ate," Leo said, walking over to the armchair near my bed. He sat down and crossed his legs. "That is good. I do not like weak people in my house. If you want me gone, just let me go," I said, sitting up in bed. "I will leave the city. You will never see me again." Leo leaned back, staring at me. "And what about the $5 million your boyfriend owes me? If I let you go, I lose my payment." "I can work," I said quickly, feeling a sudden spark of hope. "I will pay you back. Every single cent. It might take me my whole life, but I will do it. Just please don't keep me here." Leo let out a short, low laugh. It wasn't a mean laugh. It sounded almost sad. "Sarah, you could work 3 jobs for 100 years, and you wouldn't even pay off the interest on that debt. The world doesn't work that way. Then what do you want from me?" I cried out, my frustration finally boiling over. "Why am I here? Are you going to hurt me? Are you going to sell me to someone else?" Leo's face instantly turned cold. The air in the room grew heavy. He stood up and walked over to the edge of the bed. He leaned down, bringing his face close to mine. "Listen to me very carefully," Leo said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "I am a Mafia boss. I deal in weapons, land, and power, but I do not deal in human lives. I did not buy you to sell you, Sarah. I took you from Adrian because if I didn't, he would have sold you to men who are truly evil, men who would have broken you in a single day." I stared at him, completely stunned. My breath hitched in my throat. "I bought your debt to save your life," Leo said softly, his eyes searching mine. "Adrian was going to lose you anyway. At least here, you are safe." Before I could process his words, Leo turned around and walked out of the room, leaving me alone with a racing heart and a completely new understanding of the man who held my fate in his hands. Over the next few weeks, things began to change. The heavy doors to my room were no longer locked. Leo gave me permission to walk around the entire estate, including the massive, beautiful gardens. The only rule was that I could not leave the main gates. I started spending my afternoons in the garden. I loved the fresh air and the bright flowers. It was the only place where I could forget, even for just an hour. the nightmare my life had become. One sunny afternoon, I was residential sitting on a stone bench, reading a book from the library. Suddenly, a shadow fell over me. I looked up and saw Leo. He wasn't wearing his usual dark suit jacket. He just wore a simple black shirt. He looked younger, less intimidating. "Is that book good?" he asked, pointing to the novel in my hands. "It is," I replied, closing the book. "It is a story about a hidden treasure." Leo sat down on the other end of the bench. He kept a respectful distance between us. He looked out at the rose bushes. "My mother loved roses," he said quietly. It was the first time he had ever mentioned his family. She used to spend hours out here tending to them. When she passed away, I promised myself I would keep this garden beautiful for her. I looked at him, seeing a completely different side to this feared man. "You miss her very much," I murmured. "I do," Leo said, turning his head to look at me. "In my line of work, you cannot show weakness. You cannot show grief. But out here in this garden, I feel like I can just breathe." We sat in silence for a long time. For the first time since arriving at the estate, the silence wasn't scary. It was comfortable. We watched the wind move through the trees. As the days turned into weeks, Leo started joining me in the garden more often. We talked about everything. I told him about my childhood, my dreams of traveling, and how much I missed the simple things, like going to a grocery store. He listened to every word with intense focus. He never interrupted. In return, Leo shared stories of his own life. He told me about the heavy burden of leading his organization. He didn't choose this life. It was passed down to him by his father. He had to be ruthless to protect the hundreds of families who depended on him for work and safety. "Everyone fears me, Sarah," Leo said one evening as we watched the sunset from the balcony. "Everyone looks at me and sees a monster. They smile to my face, but they hide knives behind their backs. No one has ever looked at me the way you do." "How do I look at you?" I asked, my heart skipping a beat. Leo stepped closer to me. The warmth radiating from his body was comforting. "You look at me like I am just a man," he whispered. "A real human being. You don't ask me for money, and you don't ask me for power. You just talk to me." I looked up into his deep eyes. I realized, with a sudden shock, that I wasn't afraid of him anymore. The fear had completely vanished, replaced by something warm and deep. I was falling for the man who had bought me. Just as I was beginning to find happiness in my new life, the dark past came crashing back. It happened on a cold night. Leo was away on business, and the house felt empty without him. I was reading in the library when I heard a sudden commotion outside. There were shouts, followed by the terrifying sound of glass shattering. Before I could run, the library doors burst open. I expected to see a rival gang or a masked intruder. Instead, standing in the doorway was Adrian. He looked terrible. His clothes were dirty, his hair was messy, and his eyes looked wild and desperate. He held a small silver pistol in his shaking hand. "Sarah," Adrian gasped, running toward me. He reached out to grab my arm, but I jumped back, hiding behind the mahogany desk. "Don't touch me, Adrian," I screamed. "What are you doing here? How did you get in?" "I sneaked past the outer gate while the guards were changing shifts," Adrian said quickly. His words tumbled out in a panicked rush. "I came to save you, Sarah. I made a mistake. I never should have given you to that monster. I have a plan. We can run away together. I found a guy who can get us fake passports. We can start over in another country." I stared at him, feeling a wave of deep disgust. This was the man I had cried over for weeks. This was the man I thought had broken my heart. Looking at him now, I didn't feel sadness. I only felt anger. "Save me," I said, my voice cold and sharp. "You didn't come to save me, Adrian. You probably owe money to someone else now. And you think you can use me again. You sold me. You threw me away like a piece of trash." "I did it to stay alive," Adrian shouted, his face turning red. "You don't understand the pressure I was under. But look at you now. You're living in a palace. You look beautiful. Leo hasn't hurt you. That means you still have value. Come with me right now, or I swear I will drag you out of here." Adrian stepped around the desk and grabbed my wrist tightly. His grip was painful. I struggled against him, crying out for help. "Let go of her." A cold, calm voice echoed through the room. Adrian froze. I looked past his shoulder. Leo stood in the doorway. He was drenched from the rain outside. His eyes were completely dark, filled with a terrifying, deadly rage. He didn't have a weapon in his hand, but his presence alone was enough to make the entire room feel like ice. Two of his top guards stood right behind him, their guns drawn and aimed straight at Adrian. Adrian quickly pulled me in front of him, using me as a shield. He pressed the cold barrel of the pistol against my temple. "Don't move," Adrian yelled at Leo, his voice cracking with fear. "If your men take one step closer, I will pull this trigger. I swear I will." My heart stopped. The cold metal against my skin made me tremble. I looked at Leo. The rage in Leo's eyes instantly softened into pure terror when he saw the gun against my head. For the first time ever, I saw fear in the face of the Mafia king. He wasn't afraid for his own life. He was terrified for mine. "Adrian," Leo said. His voice was incredibly calm, but you could hear the desperate edge beneath it. He held his hands up in the air, stepping forward slowly. "Look at me. Your fight is with me, not her. Let her go." "No," Adrian screamed. "You took everything from me. You ruined my reputation. If I don't get her out of here, I have nothing." "If you hurt her," Leo said, his voice dropping to a low, chilling tone that made Adrian shake, "there's no place on this earth where you can hide from me. I will dismantle your life piece by piece. But if you put the gun down right now, I will let you walk out of this house alive. I will even erase the rest of your debt. You will be completely free." Adrian hesitated. You could see the greed and fear battling inside his mind. "You're lying," Adrian whispered. "You'll just kill me the moment I drop the gun." "I am a man of my word," Leo said, taking another slow step forward. He kept his eyes locked onto Adrian's eyes, drawing all the attention to himself. $5 million, Adrian. Your freedom, fully paid. Just give me the gun and walk away." Adrian's grip on my wrist loosened slightly as he thought about the offer. That small second of distraction was all I needed. I raised my foot and stamped down hard on Adrian's toes. At the same time, I twisted my arm out of his grip and dove to the floor. "Sarah!" Leo roared. Before Adrian could react to my escape, Leo moved with unbelievable speed. He crossed the room in a blur, throwing his weight into Adrian. The pistol flew out of Adrian's hand, clattering across the marble floor. Leo slammed Adrian against the heavy wooden bookshelf, pinning him instantly. The two guards rushed forward, grabbing Adrian and forcing him down to his knees. Adrian was sobbing now, completely defeated. Leo didn't even look at Adrian. He turned around immediately and fell to his knees beside me on the floor. His hands rushed over my face, my shoulders, and my arms, checking for any injuries. "Are you hurt? Did he hurt you?" Leo asked. His voice was trembling violently. The great, untouchable Mafia boss was shaking like a leaf. "I'm okay, Leo," I whispered, wrapping my arms tightly around his neck. "I'm okay. You saved me." Leo pulled me into his chest, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. He buried his face in my hair. "I thought I lost you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I have never been so afraid in my entire life." In that moment, surrounded by guards and the chaos of the room, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that this man truly loved me. He didn't see me as a prize or a debt. He saw me as his entire world. Leo stood up, keeping one arm firmly around my waist. He looked down at the weeping Adrian. "Take him away," Leo ordered his guards. His voice was cold again, but it lacked the murderous rage from before. "Get him out of this city. If he ever steps foot near Sarah again, you know what to do." "Yes, boss," the guards replied, dragging a screaming Adrian out of the library. The room fell silent once more. The fire crackled softly in the fireplace. I looked up at Leo. His eyes were soft as he gazed down at me. "You don't owe me anything anymore, Sarah," Leo said softly, reaching up to brush a strand of hair behind my ear. "Your debt is completely gone. You are free to leave. I will have a car prepared for you tomorrow morning. I will give you enough money to start a new life anywhere you want." I felt a sudden pang of sadness in my chest. You are letting me go. Leo smiled a sad, beautiful smile. I love you, Sarah. And because I love you, I cannot keep you a prisoner in my dangerous world. You deserve a normal life. A safe life. I looked at the grand library, then out toward the dark garden, and finally back into the eyes of the man who had protected me when no one else would. I don't want a normal life if you aren't in it, I said clearly, taking his large hand in both of mine. My old life was filled with lies and betrayal. Here with you, I feel safe. I want to stay, Leo. Not because of a debt, but because I love you too. Leo's eyes widened in pure shock. Then a beautiful, genuine smile broke across his face. It was the first time I had ever seen him smile fully, and it lit up the entire room. He pulled me close and kissed me gently, a sweet promise of a new beginning. A full year has passed since that fateful rainy night. My life is completely different now. I am no longer a prisoner in the East Wing. I am the queen of this estate, standing proudly by Leo's side. Our life isn't always easy. Leo still has a dangerous job, and there are still many responsibilities we have to face together, but we face them as a team. He never keeps secrets from me, and he protects me with everything he has. Every afternoon, we still walk together in his mother's rose garden. We sit on the same stone bench, sharing our thoughts and dreaming about our future. Sometimes, I think back to Adrian and the terrible betrayal that brought me here. I used to think it was the worst day of my life, but now, I realize it was the day that led me to my true destiny. The man who bought me didn't steal my freedom. He gave me a love that is completely priceless. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this emotional journey, please don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think Sarah made the right choice by staying with Leo? What would you have done if you were in her shoes? We love reading your creative answers. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming stories. Until next time, stay safe and take care of your loved ones.